You started again yesterday, and today you stopped. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, but something inside you keeps pulling the reset switch right when momentum was building. What if the problem isn't your willpower? What if it never was? Most people approach consistency the same way. They get inspired, they make a plan, they go hard. Day 1, perfect. Day 2, manageable. Day 3, something breaks. And by day 5, they're back to where they started, wondering what's wrong with them. Psychologists call this the planning fallacy. Your brain consistently overestimates what you can do in a burst of motivation and completely forgets that motivation is a feeling, not a fuel source. Feelings fade. That's their nature. But here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. When you operate on intensity, sprinting at full effort, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for discipline and long-term thinking, gets overwhelmed. It starts rationing focus, and your brain, trying to protect you, begins associating the habit with exhaustion, with pressure, with failure. So when you think about it the next day, you feel tired before you even begin. That's not weakness. That's a very intelligent brain doing exactly what it was designed to do: avoid energy loss. Consistency was never about being intense. It was always about being continuous. Think about a river. It doesn't run fast to prove something. It doesn't stop when it hits a rock. It finds the path of least resistance and keeps moving. You were taught to admire the sprint, but the marathon was always the point. You are not broken for burning out. You were never trained for the long game, but you can learn it. Here's what the science actually says. Every time you repeat a behavior, your brain lays down a thin coat of myelin around the neural pathway connected to that action. Myelin is like insulation on a wire. More repetition, thicker insulation. Faster and easier the signal travels. This is why habits feel effortless eventually. Not because you became disciplined overnight, but because your brain literally restructured itself around the repetition. The problem is, intensity doesn't build myelin. Repetition does. Showing up small every day does more for your brain architecture than one massive effort once a week. Your brain doesn't care how impressive the session was. It only remembers, did you show up? Stop trying to feel motivated. Start designing your environment. Behavioral psychologist B.J. Fogg found that behavior change isn't about mindset, it's about friction. Make the habit easier to start than to avoid. Put your journal on your pillow. Set your workout clothes out the night before. Open the document before you close your laptop. Strategy outlasts inspiration every single time. Your brain operates in ultradian rhythms, roughly 90 minutes of high focus followed by a natural dip. Most people fight the dip. Consistent people schedule around it. 4 times a day: morning, midday, afternoon, evening. Pause deliberately. Even 5 minutes of stillness resets your cortisol levels and restores prefrontal function. You don't burn out when you recover before you're empty. This sounds counterintuitive, but psychologically, it's precise. When expectations are too high, your brain predicts failure before you start. This activates your threat response, and suddenly the habit feels dangerous to attempt. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman notes that dopamine isn't released at the reward, it's released in the anticipation of effort. So the goal isn't to do more. The goal is to make starting feel safe. Tell yourself, I only have to do 2 minutes. 2 minutes of writing, 2 minutes of movement, 2 minutes of focus. What happens after 2 minutes is no longer resistance, it's momentum. David Goggins talks about suffering, but psychology talks about something quieter, the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain holds incomplete tasks in active memory, creating a low-level tension until the task is finished. That tension is uncomfortable. But here's the secret. Once you start, the tension transforms into pull. You don't need to finish, you need to begin. Starting is not the door to the work. Starting is the work. When something feels hard, your amygdala flags it as a threat. Most people retreat. But cognitive reappraisal, a technique used in CBT, teaches you to relabel the feeling. Instead of, "this is hard, I should stop," try, "this is hard, which means I'm at the edge of growth." Discomfort isn't a sign that you're failing. It's neurological confirmation that you're building something new. Psychologist Teresa Amili studied what actually keeps people motivated at work. Her findings were surprising. Not praise, not money, not recognition. The single greatest motivator was progress, even tiny progress. When your brain registers a win, dopamine is released. That dopamine reinforces the behavior, which makes the next session more likely. This is called a habit loop, and it runs on small victories, not grand achievements. Track what you do, not what you didn't. Society teaches you to be proud of outcomes, but outcomes are delayed. Discipline is immediate. Every time you show up when you didn't feel like it, you are rewiring your identity at the neural level. Psychologist Carol Dweck found that people who attach pride to effort rather than results are significantly more resilient after failure, because they define themselves by the process, not the performance. Be proud of the fact that you sat down, that you opened the file, that you tried. Again, that is not a small thing. That is everything. Here is the one mental model that holds all of this together. Think of yourself not as a person trying to be consistent, but as a person building a river. Every day you carve the channel a little deeper. Some days the water flows fast. Some days it barely moves. But as long as you don't abandon the channel, as long as you return, the river remembers where to go. The brain is the same. It remembers what you repeat. It reinforces what you return to. It rewards the ones who stay. Not the ones who started loudest, the ones who kept going, quietly, patiently, every ordinary day. You don't need a perfect system. You need a forgiving one. One that allows for rest. One that celebrates beginning. One that sees the hard days not as failure, but as evidence that you are still trying. Consistency is not a personality trait you either have or don't have. It's a practice. And like all practices, it gets easier the more your brain learns to trust you. So tomorrow morning, when it's difficult, don't ask yourself to be extraordinary. Just ask yourself to start. That's enough. That has always been enough. If something in this video felt true for you, your brain recognized it for a reason. Follow that feeling. That's where the work begins.